All right, guys, we have a problem. So a couple of days ago, let's see if I can find the tag. I can't. It was about the 21st or 22nd, so about a week ago, we mounted this lovely orchid onto this lovely seagrass hammock for reptiles. However, earlier today, after I did my plant haul video for May, I moved all the plants out of the way to pull her down and give her a watering and kind of check on her, see how she was doing. And the leaves were, as you can see, you should not be able to bend a Phalaenopsis leaf like that. So I said, well, let me take this moss off, because it was just a bunch of little pieces kind of crammed together, and it kept falling off every time I'd spritz her in the morning and in the afternoon and again in the evening. So I had bought some new moss, and I was going to put the longer strands on there to cover her a little bit better. And once I took the moss off, this is what we have. So when we put her in here, put her on that mount, she had a great root system. But as you can see, that great root system has desiccated. So let's take one last look at our lovely blooms, because like I've stated before, even the blooms, you can tell, see how flimsy they are. She puts a lot of energy into keeping this bloom as poor looking as it is, plus trying to open up all these new buds, and then she has 2 new spikes. So the orchid puts a lot of energy into trying to keep the spike going. And I know I've stated it before, I will cut the spike for the health of the plant. Also, by cutting this spike, it's going to trigger vegetative growth and root growth, which means she'll grow more leaves, as well as hopefully she'll produce some more roots. She does have a few roots that she can get going on. And I'm going to cut the spike about right here. Let's do that while I have it out. And after watching Justin's Orchids and More video, I am going to take his tip of leaving a lot of the spike on there, because this way she can draw nutrients that are in this spike, simply because she has, like I said, very little root system. We'll see what we have left after we clean her up. But we are going to put her in this shallow pot right here. And I know it looks really small compared to the size of this orchid, but I want it to be really small because I will up pot her once she starts filling in this pot. We're going to put her in a perlite, small fir bark, and charcoal mix, as well as I'm going to add some moss in there just for that extra moisture and humidity in the pot itself to encourage root growth. So now that we've cut the spike, let's get busy on the roots. And this might take me a while, so I will fast forward depending on how long it takes the roots. But I've had her soaking for a little bit in some CalMag, so what few roots there are can kind of absorb that extra nutrient. And I really am scared to find out what we don't have once we're done. So I will be rather picky on what I am cutting, simply because, like I said, she does not have hardly any roots. This is good, so these are still good. This one is kind of desiccated on the end, so I'm just going to clip the tip to kind of encourage maybe some branching. That is another good thing with Phalaenopsis, is they are branching root systems. So sometimes if you cut a root, it won't necessarily grow from that same spot. Sometimes it will, but sometimes it does encourage some branching. All right, so that one is not very good. Okay, so there's a brancher on that one, but it is desiccated, so we'll take that off. And like I said, I'm going to go through them one by one and take off all the dead. And I'm not going to spray her with hydrogen peroxide or anything like that. I already did that when we put her on the mount. This is just basically an emergency save. So this is my my no ID that I named Deja. So, and as you can see, I am cutting quite a few roots off of here. And another reason I went ahead and soaked her for a while too is because I wanted to see the green. Because if you were to try to do this, let's see. Yeah, that one's green. So if you were to try to do this without wetting it, a lot of these roots that are green looked like they weren't viable, so I would have cut them. And like I said, she does not have hardly, all these roots I'm cutting off were nice and green and beautiful when we put her on the mount. So sometimes, guys, after you've tried something, like I said, keep an eye on your plant and listen to what she's telling you. And she just didn't look right. The flowers were starting to get droopy, and I thought, okay, well, you know, she's pouting a little bit. Kind of expect that after you repot or change their media of any kind. And then I hadn't taken her down to give her a good water since, let's see, today is Sunday, so you probably won't see this till Tuesday, but today is Sunday, and I watered her on Wednesday, so she should not have been like this. And like I said, I spray her really well in the morning and in the afternoons when I'm home, and then again at least in the evening when I get home from work. Phalaenopsis leaves should be really firm. Like I could practically just fold that over. And that was kind of my indicator that something was just not right. So this root right here, it doesn't look the best. This one here, it doesn't look the best, but it's still firm and it's green, so we're going to leave it. And as I've stated in several videos, if you do not have a set of clippers that have this nice point on them, do invest in some, because especially for stuff like this, when you're wanting to be as precise as possible, these work much better than these. These are difficult to get into the tiny spots. You'll end up cutting something you weren't trying to cut. So let's see, let's cut you. There we go. And then you're gone to right there. That one's good. All right, then we will cut you right here. Okay. And this one had 2 branches on it. And some of these are brown, and they'll probably go ahead and die as well. But like I said, I'm giving her as many roots that I can safely leave her for her until she grows a new root system. I will, again, just keep an eye on her, and then in about a month, I will check her roots just to kind of see where we're at. So we've got this nice long one here that, if we press on it, okay, so to about right there. Okay, so this is what we are left with. Let's see, there's another one there I missed. Okay, guys, so this is what we're left with right here. Out of all the roots that she had initially, this is all I have left. So I may need to get a spike for her as well, or a stake, I'm sorry, a stake for her as well. So let me pause it real quick, kind of clean all this up, and then we will get her in her pot. Actually, that section right there, oh, I hate to do this, but I have to, because that section there is gone. All right. Double check us here. All right. All right, now I think we're good. All right. Nope, still got one more. And then I'll get the remnants of all these old leaves and stuff that have come off. We'll just take all that off since we're here. All right, and that was a root that tried to grow that I'm gonna leave it there. Maybe it'll continue on. Let me just clip the tip of it and then see what happens. There we go. Now see, if I would have tried that with my secateurs, it would have just clipped off, probably cut the crown. All right, like I said, let me go get a stake, and then we will get her potted into her new home, And then we will just keep our fingers crossed that we will get to see these again. I'll probably set this in some water, and sometimes the buds and everything will go ahead and open up and I'll be able to. Okay, so we have everything we need. We've got our bark, our moss, our decorative pot, and obviously our plant. So I am going to start low like I do with every repot. Go ahead and put some moss at the bottom. There we go. And then we'll put some bark on top of that. And guys, anytime you're layering moss in your media, always make sure you leave some open so that the next layer can absorb it as well. So this way it absorbs all the way through and not just in certain spots. All right. Put a little bit more of moss in there as well. And then we're just going to kind of do that. Just layer of moss, layer of bark, layer of moss, layer of bark. Okay. And I'll probably fast forward through this. You guys have seen this before. All right, so now let's go ahead and put the stake in to help keep her stable in the pot. There we go. And then I am going to use this other stake kind of right here because that one leaf is trying to lean over. And this way that'll kind of encourage it to, once it gets its strength back and fluids back, it'll keep it nice and straight. All right, so that is that. And then we will just keep an eye on her and see what she does. But if you can see the layering of the moss in there, this way when I water her, the moss will absorb all the way through because it's very wicking. And this way I don't have to soak her. I can just kind of drizzle the water in there until some of the moss looks nice and wet, and then I'll just wait and watch until all the rest of it is wet, because I don't want to give her too much water because she doesn't have that many roots, so she's not going to absorb it. But I do want to keep kind of a high humidity in the pot itself to try to encourage that new root growth. All right, so we will check on her again in about a month, so that would be the end of June, and maybe we'll take her out of her pot on camera and see what we've got in there. And I may end up taking some wire and kind of wiring this stake over to this stake just because it is kind of still kind of getting pushed. But I'll just decide that later. And everyone have a great day. If you have any other suggestions on what you'd like to see, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. If you've ever experienced what I'm experiencing, go ahead and share that down below too, and tell us, what did you do and were you successful?